Okay, today's daf is Mem Gimel. No need to check the Mishnah on Mem Gimel. Okay, Hamafkid Moitz Eitz Shulchani. Again, you have Shulchani, as we might remember from another time, that money changes people, and by and large, it wasn't, I think, like we have money changes to change foreign currency into the currency of the realm. It was basically to go ahead and switch copper coins to silver coins, or silver coins to copper coins. Copper coins were used more often, but they didn't have the lasting power of silver coins. So that's basically what it was. He would take, I guess, he would make money for his services. So if you go ahead and you trust money to a shulchani, can he touch it or not? Again, mafkid. Mafkid means you're giving us a shaymer. Im srurim, if they're tied up, lo yishtamish bem, you shouldn't touch them. In other words, he has a regular shliach. He's a regular shliach. Again, let's say make him a shem mechinam. Lefikach, therefore, im avdu ein chayav b'achriusan. Clearly, he's a shem mechinam because it's a veda. He's not going to be chayav. Mutarin, however, if you give it loosely, yishtamish behem, he's permitted to use them. Lefikach im avdu chayav b'achriusan. Therefore, if he loses it, you be chayav be'achrayis. Again, going to see in Machlokes in the Gemara, maybe I feel a bit einsin. Maybe I feel a bit einsin. If you can use it, maybe it's a shoyel, and a shoyel is chayav I feel a bit einsin. So over here, you just use the lashon of avdu. It's mashmi is a shayna sacha, correct? Or avdu. But we'll see the Gemara discuss that. So that's if now if it's untied, clearly it's untied that he wants to go ahead, right, and it's extra for him to use. How about this? Eitz balabayas. If you're a mafkid, you entrust the balabayas with the same type of situation. Bein sarurin ubein mutarin, whether they're bound up or they're loose, lo yishtamish b'hem. Again, he has no purpose for it. He has no touching it. Lefikach im avdu ein chayv b'chiyusan. He's a shem mechinam. No. Chenvani. What about a chenvani, a storekeeper? Kabbalah bayis. The Reb Meir says like a balabayas. So bein sarurin ubein mutarim, he can't use them, and therefore, if they're lost, he's a shemachin, he's pater. If you die money kashalchani, the chenvani will also need money from time to time, again giving change and different things, and therefore he has a lacha of shulchani. Thus, if it's trurin, he shouldn't touch it. If it's mutarin, he'd be able to go ahead and use it. Okay, Fredi Marakash. Just because they're tied up, you shouldn't use them. In other words, you're dealing with a money changer. You're giving him money, and if it's loose, he'd be able to use it. So just because you gave it to him bound, he can't use it. Again, he's a shulchani, that's his job. And it seems to be regular tzrurin is not enough of an impediment for him to using it. So therefore, he should even be you should be able to use it, and therefore chaybach rayas if anything happens to it. So I'm Rabbi Yehuda, we're not speaking about regular tzrurin. We're speaking about tzrurin v'chasumim shanu. It's not just tied up, fellas. It's sealed. It's sealed. In other words, sometimes you give something tied up, it's just the hechatimsa of getting into the other person's rishus without falling all over the place. And that's the Gemara's kasha. But once it's it has a seal on it, you're telling the guy, right, that's it, don't touch it. Right? Rabbi Meir Omer, Bekeshem Meshuna. It's not speaking about, it's not sealed, but it's a different type of knot. This guy's a sailor, expert knots. He knotted it in a different way. That knot in a different way is announcing, do not touch. Okay, the others say that's a shaila. Boy, Rav Mari, keshem meshuna. Mai, what's the din of a keshem meshuna? Do you need sealed or no? Would that be enough of an impediment? Says Marteku, it remains a shaila. So therefore, the first din of the Mishnah, Hamafkin Moitze Eitzel Shulchani is in Tzrurin. Tzrurin means it's either Tzrurin v'chasumim sealed, or it's Tzrurin mishuna. It's a different type of knot. Mutar mishtamish behem. And if mutarim, you could use it. Okay, now, so why did the Mishnah say im avdu, then you chay b'chiyusan? Now we know enough about hilchas shoymim to know that a Veda announces if you chayiv that you're a shaymasacha, but you'll be pater b'oinsin, right? You'll be pater b'oinsin. So Rav Huna fafilu nenasu says Rav Huna, not only would he be chayiv the shulchani even if it's lost, he'd be chayiv even when oinus happens, which makes a lot of sense. Of course, once you can use something, it's called kol hana shaloi, and you're a shayel. Once you're able to use something, you're a shayel. In other words, once it's even if you don't use it, well, we'll see in a second. Once mutarin, once it's loose, and you're telling me that it's available, so he's no longer a shomer. He's no longer a shomer. He's ascended a level of shmira. Says Rashi, "Vafilu nenasu go up." Even if he didn't use it, you know why? They may hash the habi shalalayu. Fellas, if you go say, listen, can I borrow your lawnmower? They say, sure. You go ahead, you take the lawnmower, bring it into your rishus, and you don't use it. And all of a sudden it breaks or something happens. Good? Yechayev, you didn't use it, but you were shayel, you took it from him. So once the money is entrusted to you in a state of possible usage because the money is mutarin, so l'chayra you should be chayev right away. That's Rav Huna's din. Makes a lot of sense, right? You're a shayel. You're a shayel. So Nachum Alam Rav Huna Vafil Nasu. Fed the Gemara Avdu Katani. It said the word Avdu. It's mashma only a shem sacha. Says the Gemara Kid Rabba, like we had earlier in the Masechta, the Amar Rabba, Nignavu. When it says Nignavu, you know what it means? The listim mizuyim, and we said listim mizuyim is an oinus, fellas. You know that's not a geneva that a gazelle that you're chayiv on for Shem Esacha. If someone comes to you with an armed robber, comes to you, that's an oinus. Avdu, you know what avdu means? Shetavus v'nasa b'yom. It means that it's an aveda machmas oinus that went ahead and it sunk in the sea. So therefore, the avdu in the Mishnah does not mean what avdu. It means ke'ein what oinus. Rav Nachman disagrees with Rav Huna, and he says, "Nenasulai." You're only a Shem Esacha. You're only a Shem Esacha. You're not what? You're not a shayel. Guys, who do you understand better, Rav Huna or Rav Nachman? I would say Rav Huna. When you think about it, guys, he could use this money. He's again, it's the lawnmower in the yard. He's able to use this money. So what's pshat? He's able to use this money. What's pshat? So Amalei Rava li Rav Nachman said Rava to Rav Nachman. Amalei Rava Rav Nachman. The didach the armit nen nasu loy, according to you, say that what? An oinus not, and you're telling me he's a shaima sachar al alma loy have shayol alayu. He surely have shaima sachar nami lo have. Guys, it's a beautiful kasha, right? Guys, look, guys, look at me, look at me. Guys on the screen, look at me. What's happening over here? You either could use it or you can't use it. You're not being paid. So if you can't use it, you're a shamechinam. If you could use it, you're a shoyel, right? So says Rav Huna to Rav Nachman, I don't understand you, Rav Nachman. Bishleim, according to me, I'm telling you, if you can't use it because it's thorough with a chasima, you're a shamechinam. Once it's mutarim, you're a shoyel, makes sense. But according to you, only if it's lost, once it's mutarim, you're what? Is shayma what? Chasacha? What are you talking about? Where do you elevate from a shemechina to a shemesacha? Once you could use it, you're a shayel. Where's this middle ground? Where's this middle ground that you want to mechayiv me on? It makes no sense. On that, the Gemara says something very fascinating. Amalei beha moedina lecha. Right. In this, he says, I'm moeded to you. Beha, I'm moeded to you that what? That he's a shemesacha. And moedina lecha that what? Rashi says. Afagav damina loy havi shoyel mehashda at sheyishtamish medina d'shem esacha ave. It's not medina to you so much, but even though he's not a shoyel till he uses it, according to me, he's still a shem esacha. The hoyel v'nena mahana, since he could have hana, behahu hana the misrami le zvina the ispe ravcha zavim bahu. If he has a chance for a purchase and he'll have liquid cash around, that hana, knowing that he has that cash around, have a shemesacha, he will be a shemesacha. There's a very interesting svara, guys. You remember we had a machloikus between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef by Shomer Aveda. Is a Shomer Aveda k'shemechinam shemesacha? You picked up an Aveda. Says Rabbi Yosef what? Since you potter from giving an ani a pruta, with that hana, you're a shemesacha. That's called pruta de Rabbi Yosef. You didn't take it, but there's hana with that ability. Over here, this person has money. This money's liquid. He didn't use it yet, so he's not a shoyel, but he could use it. The fact that he could use it, says Rav Nachman, the fact that he could use it makes he's having hana. That hana, he's watching it below Shem Esacha. That's pshat. So says Rav Huna, no, there's no such middle ground. Says Rav Huna that once you have ability, it's loose and you can use it, you're a shoyel. like a lawnmower in a yard. Says Rav Nachman, no, you have to mamish use it. How do you elevate from Shem Echinam to Shem Esacha if you haven't used it? Because since it's not longer tied up in a sealed, it's no longer tied up in a sealed handkerchief, and it's loose, you have the knowledge and the yishuv adas that if a business venture comes calling, you'll have liquid cash to invest in it. With that, I know you're a Shem Esacha. I think the Prut of Rabbi Yosef really explains it, right? You see that from Prut of Rabbi Yosef, you don't need mamish hana, you don't need mamish physical hana, even mental hana. Okay, it's geschmack Gemara. Esav Rav Nachman Rav Huna. Rav Nachman says that what? You only chayev what? Only as a Shem Esacha, you're not chayev unless you use it. Rav Huna, a little background is required over here. Me'ila is unique. You have enough from Hegdish. There's two. One, having the physical hana, or even being mitzi meshus l'rishus is considered hana. Going from one rishus to another rishus. So if I would go ahead, if I have money of Hegdish and I would give it to Benji, I'd be moil because I wouldn't have from my rishus to that rishus. If I'm a gizber of Hegdish, then I wouldn't be moil. Only Benji would be moil when he uses it. Only Benji would be moil when he uses it, right? Okay. So with that in mind, let's begin the Gemara. Now, what did Rav Huna say? Rav Huna said, even before you use it, you're a shayil. Hamafkid moil etzel shulchani. Someone entrusts his shulchani to go ahead and watch more. Im tzrurin lo yishtamish behem. Lefikach, therefore, im hoitzi. If the money belongs to Hegdish and you gave it to the shulchani, you're a gizbar. You gave it to the shulchani. He's not supposed to use it. So therefore, lefikach im hoitzi. If he uses it, lo yimoal. 1 second. Lefikach im hoitzi lo yimoal la gizbar. The gizbar is not moil. The gizbar is not moil because again, if he went ahead and took it, he had no right. He's the one. The gizbar is not moil because he didn't do anything. The musarim yishtamish behem. Lefikach im hoitzi moil la gizbar. Classic yesh shliach levar avera, guys. One of the places in Shas we say meila. Who's doing the avera? The guy uses it. Who's being mechayev? The gizbar. So this is a classic case of yesh shliach levar avera. So again, if it's tied up, the gizbar is not moil. If it's not tied up, then the gizbar is moil. And if you're telling me that even if he doesn't use it, what he is considered a shayol, my area haitzi afilu haitzanami. Why do you need him to go ahead when it's loose for the gizbar to be moil only after he uses it? The fact that potentially he could use it, just like Rav Huna holds, guys. Let's spare us. Just like Rav Huna holds, when you give over the money to shulchani, you entrust him with a untied bundle. Your shayol and he's chayiv ba'insin hu adin. The gizbar, once he gives it over, at that point in time, he should be moil. Why? Because you already gave him rishus, so it went out of hegdish, and therefore what? You should be moil afiloi hoitzi. That's the kasha. And for the Gemara Amalei, so that's the kasha Rav Nachman who said you have to use it. The kasha that he asked on Rav Huna. So and for Rav Huna, Amalei Rav Huna to Rav Nachman, who adin the afagav lohoitzi. Even if what he gives him the loose money. Even without the shulchani using it, the gizah will be moil. As soon as he gives it to him, he would be moil. Why? But I did the tani reisha hoitzi. Since in the reisha you had to learn hoitzi, because dafka hoitzi is moil over there. Tana seifa nami hoitzi. Therefore, you learned in the seifa. So the case of mafkid moyes shulchani, since it was trurin, it was tied up in chasumin, they're dafka hoitzi. So over here we learned hoitzi. But who adin like Rav Huna. The gizbar would be moil as soon as you give it. Why? Because he could use it. Okay, that's the easy part of today's daf. That's the easy part of today's daf. Okay, the second part of the daf. Guys, you good? Everyone's good? Okay. Hashalech yad v'pikadin. And we know there's something called shlichas yad. We had it. We said We saw the Ritva, Shlichus Yad is what? You're going to pay back. You're going to use it, but you're going to pay back. That's Shlichus Yad, right? I'm going to use it, I'm going to pay back. Even if I take away and detract from it, I'm going to pay back. That was the taich, like the Ramban that the Ritva quoted, is what Shlichus Yad is. So Hasholech Yad B'Pikadin. Now, whatever level of shmira you're on, as soon as you do that, you'll be together a Goslin, guys. Hasholech Yad is together a Goslin, and therefore you can be Chai Boinsen. Therefore you be Chai Boinsen. Beishamay Oimrim, Yiloke B'Choser U'B'Yeser. You get gestrafen. Where's Kenny? I need someone to type Yiddish. You get gestrafen, right? You get smacked, right? In the chaser will be yeser. We'll explain that in the Gemara. Beisil loimim kishas haitzah. You go after what? The time of haitzah. What it was at the time of what haitzah? There's two possibilities. Haitzah when you were shalech yad. Haitzah when you actually used it. Okay. Rabbi Kiva Omer kishas hatfiyah. You go after shas hatfiyah. So three machlokes. Beishamai you get stricken either the chaser ubi yeser. Beis Hillel haitzah, and basic Rabbi Akiva saying tefillah, whatever it's worth besides business. So we have to go ahead and see the machlokes. We're going to have 4 ways to explain the machlokes Beishamai Beis Hillel, guys. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 ways to explain this machlokes. Now, the crux of the machlokes now in the Havamina is when he stole it, and when it leaves this world, it's 2 different prices. When he was Shaleach Yad, it was worth X. When he went ahead and used it, it was worth Y, when it was left the world. So there is 2 possibilities of Gezela. There is the Gezela that takes place when he actually takes it, and there's the Gezela that takes when he actually uses it. Does the second one circumvent the first one or not? So let's see the Gemara. Amar Rabba, says Rabba, the Rif says Amar Rabba. Haiman de Gozel Chavita de Chama. If this sounds familiar, we hacked it in the Sefta, but Metzia in Meruba. This person steals a Chavita, a barrel of wine from his friend. Haiman de Gozel Chavita de Chama Mechabre. He steals a barrel of wine from his friend. Meikora, at the time of the Gezela, Shavya Zuzah. It's worth a zuz. And Hashta Shavya Arba. And now it's worth 4. Now, if nothing happened, all he would do was return the object and say, Hari Shal Cholafanecha. Here it is. If, again, it was worth 4 and went 1, whatever it is, you say Hari Shal Cholafanecha, if it's still be'en. The problem goes into where it's no longer be'en, it's not in this world anymore, right? So now, Tavra, the barrel of wine broke, or Shasya, or he drank it. So now, he stole it was worth 1. When it leaves the world, either through Shvira or Shtia, then Mishalim Arba. You're going to pay 4. You're going to pay 4. He physically did something. Itbar Memela, but if it breaks by itself, Mishalim Zuzah. He's going to pay a Zuz. Good, he's going to pay a Zuz. What's the chilik, guys? Kol HaGazlonim, Mishalim Kishas HaGazela. So now, in the case where he stole it, it was worth 1, and now he drank it, we're going to view the drinking as an act of Gezela at 4, circumventing the Gezela at 1. If it breaks Memela, all you have is the initial Gezela, and therefore it's going to be worth only 1. If he goes ahead again, drinks it, or breaks it, that act goes ahead and circumvents the original Gezela, which was a 1. Now you have it 4, he's going to pay 4. If, however, he does nothing else except steal it, and consequently it breaks, there's no second action, you're only going to pay what? 1. That's Rabbi's din. My timer, right? Why does what? What's the reason, right? Is it when it's worth 4? What's the reason when it's worth 4, he pays 4? Even the Isya, since it was in this world before he drank it, or he broke it, Hajr Lamara Be'ena, he could return it in that state. He shited the Kashasi. In other words, you'll be able to say Hari Shechol Lefanecha at that point. Even now, Hashta, the Kashasi or the Katavale, Kagazlamine. That's considered, guys, you see, that's the act of Gezela. Kagazlamine, he's stealing right now at that point in time. At that point in time, he's stealing. Yeah, it's very geschmack. It's very geschmack. Okay, good. So we're developing a kasha, v'tanan, a mishnah. Kol hagazlanim mishalam kshas hagzela. So drinking or breaking is new what? Okay, now that's the reason why you're going to pay 4. Itma memela. Why are you going to pay only 1? Mishalim zuza my timer. Hashlo yover love midi. He didn't do anything. There was no act of gazela aside from what the original one. Am I come mechayiv? What are you going to mechayiv on? He shaited the gozla. The time he stole. He shaited zuda havishav. It was worth what? So everything is set up, guys. Beautiful. In other words, we have a rule kol agazlon mishalim shas hagazela. When he eats it or drinks it or breaks it, that's the shas hagazela. Why? Because it's going to circumvent the original act of physical gazela. If he doesn't do another act, all you have is this. So if over here was worth 1 and here's worth 4, and you didn't do anything, this is the only gazela you have, it's 1. If, however, it was worth 1 when you stole it and 4 when you drank it, this is the new gazela. Now, thus you have 4. But anyway, you're paying Shasa gazela, that's the Hezbollah of the Gemara. That's the Hezbollah of the Gemara. Now, read the Gemara. Now, we're going to use this to somehow learn Pshat in our Mishnah. Again, we have a machloikas in Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Says Beis Shammai, yuloka bechosa ube yeser. That's what he said. Beis Hillel said kishas haitzah. We're going to use the concept that Rabbi just developed and say it's machloikas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. That's the first Tanan. Beis Hillel oimen. Beis Hillel is of the opinion kishas haitzah. My kishas haitzah. Now, fellas, you have 2. You have saw when he stole it, or he saw when he knocked it out of the world. When he consumed it, if it's 1, is there anyone the who's going to hold that what? You stole it 4, you broke it at 1, that you're going to go ahead and pay 1? But there is no man the who holds what? Originally it was 4, and now it's 1, and now you drink it, you're not going to pay 4. Of course, that can't be the case. So it can't be b'shas he drank it, that's what it can't be. So what must it be? The ibi yeser, so therefore what? Haitzah min ha'olam is speaking when he drank it, and it's speaking where it's worth 1, and now he's paying 4. That's exactly what Beis Shammai said, and he's clearly arguing on Beis Shammai. One more time. According to the way we want to learn Pshat now, Haitzah means the time he drank it. So it can't mean that he drank it at 1 and it was originally 4. No one holds that way. So it must be he drank it at 4 when it originally was 1. Said Beis Shammai, what? You're always going to go after the 4. The Yilaka be yeser. Says Beis Hillel, Haitzah min ha'olam, yeser. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel holding the same thing. And yet they're arguing. So obviously that can't be the Pshat in Haitzah. Says the Gemara, Amid Beis, El Pshita, it must be speaking, Kishas Haitzah mi Beis Bailam. It must be that what? That he says what it's worth at the time you left the Baal's house. So he said you'd only pay 1. In other words, there's 2 gazelas over here. There's the gazela when he left the house, and gazela when what? When okay, so now comes out like this. Why did Rabbi say 1 and 4? What are you going to pay? 4. Rabbi going to pay 4. What does Beis Hillel say? You're going to pay 1. What does Beis Shammai say? You're going to pay 4. Problem. You don't want Rabbi to come out according to Beis Shammai. You Gimel. Remember, guys, you Gimel and Erevin. The Bas Kol came out of Shemayim, even though Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, halacha is like Beis Hillel, right? So this explanation would work in the Mishnah. It just doesn't technically work in Psak. Again, here's the Pshat. Says Beis Shammai, whatever it's worth more, you're going to pay. So 1 and 4, you're going to pay 4. Says Beis Hillel, according to this, B'shas haitzah means that doesn't mean it's over here, it means it's over here. So it's 1. So that's the machlokes, 4 and 1. Says Rabbi, you're always going to go after 4, right? So you can have Rabbi holding like Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai. Lema Rabbi Dovim Beis Shammai. Now he can't be. So Amalach Rabbi, b'yesa kuli amalei pligi. when it goes up in price, no one disagrees. Even Beis Hillel would agree you're going to pay the 4. Key plea, you went to the machlokes b'chaser. When it went down, this was 4, you went to 1. Beis Shammai saba shlichus yad ain't it tzricha. So now, again, we can't say it's stam gezela, guys, because then you have a problem. No one's going to hold 4 to 1 that you're going to pay to 1, correct? No one can hold that. So now we're going to go ahead and redo this. They were shaleach yad. We saw machlokes early in the Masechta, in this parak, as a matter of fact. The shlichus yad nichesaron or not. The shlichus yad nichesaron or not. So watch. If it needs chesaron, then you're not considered shaleach yad when you took it. You're only considered shaleach yad when you actually detracted from it. If shlichus yad ain't it shlichus chesaron, then you're a gazlan right away. Right away. If shlichus yad needs a chesaron, you're still a shomer until you actually use it and take away something. If it doesn't need, as soon as you move it or use it, then you're a gazlan. So now, with this in mind, Beis Shammai savar shlichus yad ain't it tzricha chesaron. It doesn't need a chesaron, so you were shaleach yad right away. The chichaser, and when you go ahead, what? So as soon as you took it, guys, and it doesn't need a chesaron, what are you? You're a gazlan. Therefore, when it went up in price, who's rishus that it go up in price? You're rishus. V'ki chaser b'shusi de chaser, and therefore it's in your rishus. Ubeis Hillel savri shlichus yad tzricha chesaron. V'ki chaser, when it goes down in price, b'shusi demari chaser. It's going to rishus. It never went in your rishus, so therefore you pay 1. According to Beis, but according to Beis Shammai, you stole it already because you don't need chesaron, and therefore, since you stole it already, it went up in your rishus. Kol hagazlanim mishalem kshas hagazela. You're going to pay 4. According to Beis Hillel, it never was stolen. When you took it, it's no difference whether you took it or didn't take it. If it went down in price, it's going to go down in price in the rishus of the Baal. So therefore, it's only 1. That's the way to explain the Mishnah. Now. Problem. Elohadama Rava shlichus yad einat tzricha chesaron lema Rava dama kebei Shammai. So we have 2 possible pshatim in the Mishnah, but for technical halakhic reasons we can't go ahead. Okay, so those are the first 2 attempts. The first one was a gesela. The second one was shlichus yad. We're going to have a third attempt, which is along the same lines, and then we're going to have a fourth attempt, which is the true pshat that works out. And it's not speaking about gazlan. It's not speaking about what? It's not speaking about shlichus yad. You went ahead and moved it. You want to use it as a step stool to bring down geislis. You have pigeons. You have little birdies. You want to go get them. Good. You're going to use this. But again, remember the Ramban. What's sholech bayat? Excuse me. Shol shlemidas. You don't want to be mechaser anything. Shol shlemidas, you don't want to go ahead, Ron, and be mechaser anything. Shol shlemidas, the shol shlemidas, you don't want to be mechaser anything. I had no kavana. So when you go ahead and use this as the barrel of wine or whatever it is as a stepping stone, you don't want to use it, right? You don't want to use your sholeach yad. That's called shol shlemidas. So now, here's the machlokes. So Beis Shammai savi shol shlemidas gazlan have. The ki chaser b'shusi didei chaser. And when it went down in his rishus. Beis Sava shoyel shlemidas shoyel habe. V'chichasa b'shus demari chasa. A shol shlemidas is b'shus demari chasa was in his rishus. So therefore, the same again. It's the same mechanics. 4 to 1 when it goes down. The only thing is what is who is it a gesela? Is shlichus yad or is it shol shlemidas with your gazlan? But it's the same yisoid. Like Beis Shammai, you're a gazlan earlier. Since you're a gazlan earlier, you're going to pay kshas gazela, whatever the more expensive price is. According to Beis Hillel, you're not a gazlan at all. Since you're not a gazlan at all, you're going to pay the 1. That's the pshat. So what was the problem with the first 2? You were coming out of Beis Shammai. Rabba in the first case, Rav in the second case. Elohadam Rava shol shlemidas l'rabbanon gazla have le'mer Rava dama Beis Shammai. Same problem. So guys, because of the same kasha, we're leaving the first three pshatim: Gazlin, Shlichus Yad, and Shosh Lamidas. Again, and the mechanics of this was like Shama, you were a Gazlin, so you chayiv to pay b'shas Gzela, and like Hillel, you never a Gazlin at all. You're gonna, it's whatever. If it goes down in price, it's going down in the price in the Rishut of the Mari. Okay, now Elahacha b'shvach shel Gzela kaniflagi. The improvements, the appreciation of the Gzela. You steal an animal, it gets pregnant. You steal an animal, it grows wool. So that's the appreciation, the baby, the calf, and the wool. Beishamei Sadri, Shvach Gezela, the Nigzal Habe. The Shvach Gezela belongs to the person that you stole from. It belongs to the person that you stole from. Ubes Hilasavar, Shvach Gezela, the Gazlan Habe. The Shvach Gezela, Shina is Kaina, and you acquire it. Okay, and you acquire it. So that's the machloikis between the two. Okay, that's the machloikis what between the two by shvach. So according to Beis Shammai, since it belongs to the nigzal, you're getting stricken when what? When it goes up in price. Why? Because of the shvach. Leipis Hillel b'shas haitzah, whatever at b'shas haitzah it was hairless, it was barren, right? And therefore you're going to get paid that animal, not an animal that gave birth. You're not going to get the baby, and you're not going to get what? You're not going to get the shearings, the wool. And that's the machloikas between the two of them. Let's do Rashi. Elahacha b'shvach gazela pligi. V'hai chosav v'yeser demasnisan lav b'yukra b'zula. That's not speaking about where it went up in price or down in price. El b'may dechosra, the hainu gizus, whatever it's missing, that's the wool. Ub'may shoy siru, that went. In other words, you stole it when it had wool, or you stole it when it didn't have wool. Kigoyin in this abra etzloi, it became pregnant by him. When he stole it, it was no baby, and then there was a baby. Beishami Savra Hakol Yishalim Kremeya the Brisa. He's going to hold like Remeya of the Brisa. Remeya guys of the opinion that a chayta shouldn't be nischa, even though Shina is koina. We don't want it to be nischa, so we can't go ahead steal an animal, have a baby, and he's going to gain the baby. We don't let that, even though Shina is koina. Beisil Kreb Yehuda Kishasait Saw Mi Beis Bailim. So that's the machlokes. So now we have let's go back to the Mishnah, guys. Let's go back to the Mishnah. Go back to the Mishnah now. Hasholeach yad b'pikadin. And when you went ahead and you sholeach yad, it was barren. That's the easier case. It was barren, and then it became pregnant. Beishami yoimim yiloke b'chaser. If it was a baby, right, and if a chaser, if you're gonna and now but it's not there anymore. It was pregnant, now it's not there anymore, or it was wool and now it's not there anymore. You're going to pay it back. Ubi yeser, and when it was improved afterwards. So either way, he's paying for it. The Gazlan. Why? Because he holds like that. You go after Shas Gazela. He holds we go ahead, even though Shini is kaina, he's going to hold like Rabbi in a second that Kadesh lo yachayt in Niskar. No, the improvements go to the Gazlan. And whenever a Shasait saw when he took it out of the Rishus, that's the Machloikas Beisham Beis Hillel Lemaskana. That's the Machloikas Lemaskana. Okay, back in the Gemara. That's the Machloikas Lemaskana. Ubiplukta Dahani Tanoi. The Machloikas ben Beisham Beis Hillel in this Mishnah Mem Gimel is a Braisim Baba Kamadav Tzadikei. The Tanya. Hagoyz Lesa Rachel. Someone steals a Rachel, Giziza, and then he shares it. The Yolda or it gives birth. You pay the animal that you stole and the sharings and the besloisa and the baby. We saw it in Baba Kama, guys. We want to bring the right that Shini is not koina. We said Shini is koina. We say that you have to give it back, even the improvements. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, so Beis Shammai would hold like Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Gezela Chayzeres Beina, and the Gezela be'en, but you keep the improvements. They can nami. It's meduyik as well that this is the pshat in the Mishnah, that the machloikas is what in the improvements. The tani beishami yoimim yiloke bechasu beyeser beisolam kishas haitzah. Guys, if they were arguing in improvements in value, it should have said that it said bezula ubi yukra. That's the lashon of the Gemara. Bezula got worse less than price, but yukra got more expensive. Why does it say chasa v'yeser? Because now it's chasa the baby, or it gets a baby. It's chasa the wool, or it gets wool. So it's more meduyik that this is the pshat, that the machloikis is in the shvach, and not machloikis what in whether what it went up in value or not. Guys, geschmack? I like when I say geschmack and no one answers. I think it's good. Rabbi Kiva Aimer Kishas Atfiyah. Rabbi Kiva says you're going to pay Kishas Atfiyah. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Meshmuel. Halacha Rabbi Akiva. The halacha is like Rabbi Kiva, even though we don't understand Rabbi Kiva yet. The halacha is like Rabbi Kiva, right? Umoide Rabbi Kiva b'makom sheyesh edim. To be moide in a case where there's edim that he stole it and what it's worth, then in that case he would be moide. Says Rashi. Umoide Rabbi Kiva b'makom sheyesh edim kama hoyse shava b'yoyim shegazla. How much was worth the day it was stolen? In other words, B'shas Atfiyah means where he's claiming in court. Claiming in court. Says the Gemara that Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that Rabbi Akiva would be Maida, that if you know for sure that it was stolen, A, and B, what it was worth, then you pay B'shas Agzela, not B'shas Atfiyah. That's what Shmuel says. My timer, what's the reason that you go B'shas Atfiyah? The pasuk says, and this is speaking by Asham Gazelis, guys. Asham Gazelis is where a person makes a claim from you, you swear falsely to that claim, then you admit the truth, you pay a karen and you bring a carbon Asham. It says, it says to the one that the day of the Ashmaso, and Ashmaso means the day that he's found guilty. So you're going after the Tfiyah. The Kivin Dika Edim. However, since there's Eidim, at that time he's guilty. At that time he's chayiv. Eidim, right? It's like that's psak of Bezdin is based upon the Eidim. Since the Eidim at that time found him guilt, it's just a technicality to go through the court system. But really, his guilt was at the time of the Eidim. So that's Rabbi Yehuda name of Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Ato Oimekain. That's what you say. Hachi Amar Rabbi Yosi, Amar Rav Yochanan. Chalakay Rabbi Kiva. I feel Makom Sheish Edim. Rabbi Kiva even argues Makom Sheish Edim. If you have Edim that he stole it and how much it was worth, he'd also argue. My timer, Damakra, Lasheru Loi Yitnenu Biyamash Maso Ubeidina Hu Dekama Chayav Leashma. So good, the Edim they see it and it's a technicality, but the bottom line is the psak wasn't until Bezdin. So therefore, you go after B'shas Atfiyah. So Machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Shmuel, if there's Eidim according to Rabbi Akiva, where you pay according to Shas HaGezela or B'shas Atfiyah. Like Shmuel, since there's Eidim, you pay B'shas HaEidim, Shas HaGezela. Like Rabbi Akiva, and like Rabbi Akiva, we might to that. And like Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Akiva would argue there as well, only the Yom HaTfiyah, what it's worth at the Yom HaTfiyah, not what it was worth at the time of Gezela. Only Rabbi Zerah Rav Abba Bar Papa. Ki Oslo Lahasam, and you go up to Eretz Yisrael, Akif Asulma, go around the Tzur, and go to Asulma, the Tzur, name of the place, for Oil Lagabi Rav Yaakov Baridi, and go meet the great Rav Yaakov Baridi, who boy mine, and go ahead and ask him, Ishmiel Rabbi Yochanan Allah Rabbi Akiva, or Ein Allah Rabbi Akiva. Amalei Hachim Rabbi Yochanan Allah Rabbi Akiva, La'olam. Machlok is like Rabbi Akiva La'olam. Shading my La'olam. Ravashi Shalei Toimer Hani Mili. You might think that you go after B'shas Atfiyah, Hechad Deleka Eidim, only when there's no Eidim to the Geneva and the worth of the animal, of the worth of the object. Hechad Dika Eidim Loi, Rabbi Kiva would agree, and therefore La'olam means no, like Rabbi Yochanan. I guess this is what Rabbi Yochanan would say, not like Shmuel. The Inami, or another reason, what does La'olam mean? That the Allah is like in La'olam. And we had machlokes earlier, guys. Do you need das bailim when you return an object, a stolen object? Like Rabbi Shmuel, you don't. Or Rabbi Akiva, you do. You went ahead, the object that you took, that you stole as a shalach yad, and you returned to its place. The itfra, and it broke. So you returned it to its place, and it broke. And there you be chayev. Why? Because once you took it, you're a gazlan, you're not a shomer anymore, and you only can leave that status when you tell the owner. Lafukim Rabbi Shmuel Dama loy bein in das bailim kamash malon to bein in das bailim. But Rav Amar lachak beis Hillel. Rav says the halach is not like beis Shammai, like Rabbi Akiva you go after Shas Tfiyah. The halach is like Rabbi beis Hillel you go after Shas Gezela. And says Rashi, Fanon kirova avdinan the havile basra. We pass him like Rav because he was a basra. But no, he can argue with him. You say he had everything in front of him. Yeah, they said Allah is like He had everything in front of him. Okay, young men, let's say let's get Kapitel Tehillim.